You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
Those were the fireworks in the courtroom the last time Fulton County DA Fani Willis took the stand. And today, the Georgia Court of Appeals just set the stage for round 2. I'm Gadi Schwartz, and this is Stay Tuned Now. And you could call today a sort of legal win for former President Donald Trump because A, it looks like we're definitely going to see a delay in that case down in Georgia, and B, there is still a chance Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis could get thrown off of his election interference case. And here's the big news that happened today. A high Georgia court agreed to hear Trump's appeal to get her disqualified from prosecuting him. And this appeals process could take months, which means there is very little chance this criminal case against Trump happens before the November election. NBC News correspondent Blaine Alexander has the latest.
Well, Gadi, this is certainly a notable development today in Fulton County, but it's not completely unexpected. So what we know now is that an appeals court here, the Georgia Court of Appeals, is going to hear Donald Trump's challenge, basically pushing back on Judge Scott McAfee's decision to keep Fani Willis on this case. They are seeking, again, to have her disqualified and have the indictment thrown out. Now, just to remind our viewers, of course, this is something that we've been talking about. This really kind of dominated the Georgia election case for the first part of this year. There were allegations against the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis, that she was improperly benefiting financially from a personal relationship that she was having with her then special prosecutor, Nathan Wade. Now, in March, the Judge Scott McAfee ruled that she could stay on the case could move forward as planned. The only thing that had to happen was Nathan Wade had to resign, which he did that day. So, however, this kind of shows that part of that chapter is not completely closed. It's just now moving on to part 2. I think it's important to note, Gadi, as to what happens next. It's not going to bring kind of the drama that the first iteration brought. This, instead of playing out before live TV cameras and hours of hearings, this is going to be brief. Each side gets about 15 minutes to present its case to the Court of Appeals. The judges go back, consider it, and issue their ruling. Now, what this means for the timeline going forward, of course, that is also anyone's question. Remember, a trial date has not been set yet in this case. The DA had initially said she wanted to see it brought to trial by August, but many people have called that an ambitious timeline. Gadi.
Ambitious. Thank you so much. Let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Angela Sinandela. Angela, thanks for joining us. What do these appeal hearings look like, and when do you think we're going to see them take place?
Hey, Gadi. So just as Blaine said, this appeal hearing will be very different from that first hearing that was so salacious. This time there will be no witnesses. There will be no facts that will be retried. It will really just be a question of whether or not the judge used the proper legal standard here. Now, look, in Georgia and really across the country, judges are not thrown off of cases often. What this means is that there's not a lot of case law and not a lot of precedent. And that's why both sides in this case, with a straight face, were able to argue that a very different legal standard applied to whether or not both Fani and Nathan should be kicked off the case. So the judge then ultimately kind of split it down the middle and said, look, it did cause an appearance of impropriety, but didn't rise to this conflict of interest. And thus that means that one could be kicked off the case because it met that appearance of impropriety, but that Fani could stay on because it didn't meet that conflict of interest case. But again, as I just said, there is no precedent. There is no case law. So these justices will be deciding whether or not both should have been kicked off the case if one did meet that standard, or if none of them should have. So it remains to be seen, Gadi. And in terms
Angela,
of when...
Bottom line. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
sorry. So, yeah, so in terms of when, we do know that a ruling will have to be given before November 1st, but it will take a few months for both sides to get their arguments together, to file briefs for the court. But also, look, this is just the intermediary appellate court. It is guaranteed that regardless of which side wins this appeal, they're going to kick it back up to the state Supreme Court, which means that that decision won't come until likely next year, Gadi.
Yeah, I was just trying to do the math there. Next year seems very likely. So does this mean that the hush money trial that we're seeing in New York right now is going to be like the only one that happens before the actual election?
Gadi, that's what it's looking like, most likely. So we know what happened in Florida, that with that classified documents case, there's not even a trial date yet, which likely means that that is not happening before the election. The only chance we have is really this D.C. case. Now, the Supreme Court could bring down a decision at any time regarding the immunity. So if they do bring that before June or even in June, it's possible, based on their decision, that within a few months we could see that trial. But it's also possible they could just kick it back down to the lower court to retry some of those questions and just keep the appeal going. So that's the only possibility. But we do have this hush money trial going, Gadi.
Speaking of that hush money trial, what do you think we're going to see tomorrow?
Wow, well, we are going to see Stormy back up on that stand. We are going to see a vigorous and rigorous cross. These attorneys are not playing. We're going to see more questions about her credibility, what her motivations are. And I think that they did a great job in just attacking those points on Tuesday, and they will just continue to thread that. Also, though, the prosecution has a redirect, so we will see them go back up and then try to rebuild Stormy's credibility, retie those threads together, and hope that Stormy can lay the base for Michael Cohen, who, as we all know, is the star witness and likely what the entire case will hinge on.
Yeah, we'll be watching for that. Angela Sanandela, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.
And it is day 3 of severe weather across massive parts of the country right now, and we are just getting new reports of tornadoes. Forecasters have been warning about this all day. That severe threat tonight stretches from Texas to Virginia. We've got cities like St. Louis and Nashville getting hit right now, and storm chasers are spotting tornadoes. There's one in Tennessee just a few hours ago, one of several in the last 24 hours. Take a listen.
Violent tornado! Violent tornado!
Holy touchdown.
There we go, there we go. Yep, condensation funnel's coming all the way down. Tree down.
Large tornado north of New Bremen, Ohio.
There it is. It's over target. Holy.
Wow, that last clip was taken in southwestern Michigan in the town of Portage. You can see the aftermath of that tornado right here, total destruction. Our Maggie Vespa is standing by with a report from the state coming up, but let's start with Shaq Brewster in Louisville.
Hi there, Gadi. Well, here in Louisville, at least, it is not as bad as what you're seeing in the rest of the region. You may see some of the rain behind me. We see lightning further out in the distance, and you see this system continuing to make its way across the country. But if you look on the southern part of the state and in some neighboring states, Tennessee, Missouri, that's where you're dealing with the real threat from all of the conditions I'm saying. You're talking about heavy rain, torrential downpours, heavy wind, large hail in many of these areas. You're seeing some pretty dramatic images of large hail crashing down, and then there's the threat of those tornadoes. And we're already getting reports from the National Weather Service of tornadoes, confirmed tornadoes on the ground in the Tennessee area. We know that tornadoes went through southern Illinois after a certain point. Of course, it's something we're going to be watching to see the potential damage there, because it's not just the big tornadoes that we are always focused on and that cause so much distraction, or disruption, I should say. But I was up in Clark County, Indiana, just about 20 minutes up the road from here, and it was an EF0 tornado, a relatively weak tornado that still damaged some 20 homes in that area. I want you to listen to a little bit of what we heard from someone who survived one of those storms.
We took cover in our interior bathroom, and we probably weren't in there 10 to 15 minutes before we could hear that the tornado was there.
Feel the suction of the house like trying to be forced up.
And I talked to the emergency manager of that county, and he told me he's been on the job for 5 years. He's dealt with 3 tornadoes touching his county, all 3 of them taking place just this year. It's a sign that it's not just a rough week for many folks here, but it's been a rough season and a rough year as we deal with more of these storms more frequently as the threats continue to make its way across the country. Gadi?
Shaq Brewster, thank you, with that reminder that it doesn't matter how strong a tornado is. It really matters exactly where it hits, and Bill Cairns is tracking that right now. Bill, thanks so much for joining us. I know that there have been reports of new tornadoes. How are things looking right now?
Yeah, we're most concerned with what we're hearing out of Columbia, Tennessee. That's where it looks like a strong tornado has hit. We have some pictures for you. There's a fire station in Columbia that actually has a time-lapse video, and it was pointed at it. So there's no tornado. But watch the left corner of your screen. All of a sudden, you see the lowering of the cloud right there. And all of a sudden, it turns into almost like a wedge tornado rather quickly. So you can see the spinning motion of the whole storm. And at the very end, you can actually see that tornado forming. This is where we're getting reports that there's injuries. There was significant debris that was up in the air. Storm chaser said the debris was falling out of the sky. So we know that that's a search and rescue operation that's happening right now. Well, of course, we'll get you more information as we get it in. So we're in the midst of another tornado outbreak. A tornado outbreak is considered about 10 to 12 tornadoes. Right now, we've had about 11, and we've had a lot of large hail. There's a report out of Missouri of a 4.5-inch hailstone. So that's pretty much as wide as my hand. That is a grapefruit. That is larger than a softball. Softball's like 4 inches in diameter. So that's incredible. They said cars are smashed. There's holes in the roof. So again, those images, when we get them in, could be just, incredible. That's like, getting close to like state record territory for largest hailstone in Missouri. So we have portions of 10 different states in tornado watches, from the Dallas area all the way back to Missouri, back through Kentucky and Tennessee. The worst of it so far has been in Tennessee and areas of Missouri, but we still think we're going to get some isolated tornadoes right through the late evening here in areas in Texas. So here's the two storms we've been watching. The one that I mentioned, the one we just watched in the time-lapse video, that was this storm. It just went south of Murfreesboro, and this is where the Columbia is located. That's where you watched it with me right here. This other storm to the north also has been tornado warned. There's a little bit of spin right in here, but it has not dropped a tornado in about the last 20 minutes or so, so that's good. Still tornado warnings. It could at any time, but it's not looking any stronger. And this is just outside of Nashville. This is Carthage heading down to Buffalo Valley. There was a little bit of a spin right here if there's a possible tornado in between Granville and Buffalo Valley. The other issue, too much rain. We've had a lot of storms in this region, and it's just pouring one storm after another. Just north of the Nashville area, right here, this is a flash flood emergency. There are water rescues taking place as I speak. It's already rained about 2 to 3 inches, and this is on top of multiple days with rain. And that's going to be the other story. Once even the severe weather's done, this flash flooding is going to continue through the night into areas of central Tennessee and eventually down towards Chattanooga. So, Gadi, you get the picture. There's a lot going on with all of these violent storms. And tomorrow we do it again. 61 million people at risk, from Texas all the way through Georgia and even up the eastern seaboard. Won't be as much tornadoes, Gadi, but wind damage will be a big story tomorrow.
It is going to be a scary night. Bill Cairns, thank you. And back to those heartbreaking images coming out of Michigan now, where 2 tornadoes touched down less than 90 minutes apart, destroying dozens of homes and other buildings there. The governor declaring a state of emergency. NBC's Maggie Vespa has the details.
In southern Michigan, fierce winds overnight ripping a massive chunk out of this FedEx facility, revealing multiple stories of fallen metal and wires. FedEx writing, "We are grateful there were no serious injuries." In all, Tuesday, close to 30 reported tornadoes tore across 8 states, making for more than 60 twisters this week. In Portage, Michigan, neighborhoods are shredded. Close to a dozen people hospitalized. This house flipped completely upside down with a couple in their 60s inside.
Your cousin was effectively buried alive
under this house, yeah.
And it was over an hour before they could get her out with just her arm sticking out.
Sisters Kathy and Ann say firefighters dug their cousin out unharmed. Her husband, who was thrown into the yard, suffered a broken neck. The family back today to save photos.
Is it hitting you right now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's been hitting us all morning.
All morning?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was scary. It was scary what they went through. I cry for them because it's trauma, what they went through. But with all the right support, they're going to be okay.
The same sort of devastation that's played out all week. Among the flashpoints, a deadly EF4 decimating parts of Oklahoma Monday. Meanwhile, Texas now at risk for more damaging winds and hail days after torrential floods ravaged the state. Amid our climate crisis, the behavior of these severe systems is shifting, with supercell storms that spawn twisters becoming stronger and so-called tornado alley trending east toward more populated areas in Mississippi, Tennessee, and the Ohio River Valley. Back in southern Michigan.
It feels like I'm at a funeral.
Dawn Nico's home is among the latest destroyed.
I cried all day yesterday. It's like the end times, all the destruction.
Now, don't go anywhere. We are just getting started. Up next, Long Beach, California is dealing with a tuberculosis outbreak, and a bunch of cases are being linked back to a hotel. Plus, a man who attacked Dave Chappelle on stage during a show is now trying to sue the venue. We've got those details. And later this hour, we will look at how we may be able to actually decipher what whales are saying to each other. Scientists are starting to piece together their alphabet.
Do you think it's possible that one day we could talk to whales?
I think it will be possible to be able to be sending information back and forth.
Hey, welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. Russian state media is saying that the American soldier who was detained there last week has been charged with theft with major damage. Now, Staff Sergeant Gordon Black was arrested there while allegedly meeting a romantic partner after leaving his post in South Korea. He apparently will be held in detention for 2 months before his trial. And investigators in Malaysia are looking into a terrifying attack on an international soccer star, Faisal Halim, after he got acid thrown at him at a shopping mall. Halim is the latest in a string of attacks on top soccer stars, and he's now in the hospital recovering from fourth-degree burns. Police are now warning soccer players to be on guard as they try to sort things out. And Italian soldiers are now being deployed to face a serious threat across their country. We are talking wild boars. The government plans to hunt down a majority of these boars to prevent the spread of African swine fever, and it's estimated that there are over 1 million of these wild boars all across Italy. And after a quick little trip from Greece, the Olympic flame has finally reached the shores of France, and it was met with a giant party. Over 150,000 people, including President Emmanuel Macron. They were there to celebrate the start of the Olympic season. The games kick off in just 79 days, and guess what? We're going too. And tonight, there is growing tension between the U.S. and Israel over Biden administration's decision to stop a large shipment of weapons headed for the IDF. The White House making it clear that they do not support Israel's military offensive on Rafah as it's playing out. And NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez has more.
Publicly, the Israeli government is playing down any tensions with the U.S. over the Biden administration's decision to pause a shipment of weapons to Israel, including these very large 2,000-pound bombs, because of concerns about how those weapons might be used in Rafah. But an Israeli official tells me behind the scenes there is deep, deep frustration with the American government over this decision, and a feeling that any daylight between the U.S. and Israel just strengthens Hamas's hands at the negotiating table. The White House saying they are concerned that these very large weapons being used in a place like Rafah, where more than 1 million Palestinian civilians are sheltering, one of the most densely populated places on earth right now, could lead to large-scale civilian casualties. Now, CIA Director Bill Burns has been in the Middle East for several days now, trying to jumpstart these stalled negotiations between Israel and Hamas. He is here in Israel today, updating the Israeli government. These negotiations in Cairo have not yet led to any breakthrough, but the White House has said it is hopeful that the disagreements between Israel and Hamas are not insurmountable, that a final deal is possible to get the hostages out, to get more humanitarian aid in, and to prevent this Israeli offensive in Rafah from spreading any further. Raf Sanchez, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
And remember those Capitol Hill hearings several months ago, which led to the resignation of 2 Ivy League presidents and kind of set some of the scene for the protests at Columbia University? Well, there was another hearing like it today, except this time it was leaders of elementary and secondary school districts accused of not doing enough to stop anti-Semitism since October 7th. Now, 3 witnesses testified before a House committee representing school districts in New York and California and Maryland, and things got pretty heated at times, but I gotta say, it seemed like the public school teachers were a little more prepared than their Ivy League presidents. Take a look.
If we really care about solving for anti-Semitism, and I believe this deeply, It's not about having gotcha moments. It's about teaching. This convening for too many people across America in education feels like the ultimate gotcha moment. It doesn't sound like people who are actually trying to solve for something that I believe we should be doing everything we can to solve for.
Let's bring in NBC's Ali Vitale from Capitol Hill. Elementary schools, Ali, what were the main takeaways from today's hearing?
Look, the main takeaways here, and I think you're right to say that these school officials were more prepared than their college-level counterparts, in part because they knew what they were facing when they came before this committee. This is a committee that has been holding hearings of this nature for months now, and they have been chock full of viral moments that have had long lifespans online well after these hearings were gavelled out. That means that they might have been prepared, but the moments were still testy here. The way that I'm thinking about this kind of a hearing is that it's the first of its kind that this committee has held for K through 12 educators to focus on what's happening in primary and secondary schools, but it certainly won't be the last in terms of the way that we see this Congress try to mobilize and frankly take policy actions around the ways that anti-Semitism and moments of conflict for the Israel-Gaza war are playing out not just on college campuses, Gadi, but also in the lower grade schools as well.
And Ali, why did they pick these districts in particular? Did they have incidents there that have happened that were particularly egregious?
Yes, they did, and there was a lot of focus, Gadi, on the member of the faculty from Queens because of Hillcrest High School and something that happened there several weeks ago where hundreds of students protested one teacher who had posted something pro-Israel. It was one of the main talking points here, lawmakers having some fiery back and forths with the official from that school district, and some of those moments included questions about basically hiring, firing, and the ways that these situations were adjudicated within their school districts. Some of those exchanges left lawmakers feeling unsatisfied because of some of the rules and policies that govern the ways that these school officials can actually talk about the ways that they handle their HR effectively at schools. Nevertheless, they did come prepared. They did get to have some key conversations about this, but I do not think it's the last we're going to hear.
Yeah, and Ali, while we have you, Marjorie Taylor-Greene, that whole push to give the latest speaker the boot, that got tabled, right? Is that like over now?
You have a lot of lawmakers and reporters who are crossing their fingers that it's over, because in my conversations with Congresswoman Greene just in the last few minutes, what she made clear is she might do something like this again. She certainly could based on the way the rules are written, but she's not launching into it headlong, at least not right now. It's interesting to see the way that Democrats came together with Republicans on this, not to save the speaker outright, but at least to say, hey, this is the guy we've got. We've only got a few months left of this Congress. Let's just try to function till the finish line, at least until Election Day. That's going to be the goal. We'll see if people like Marjorie Taylor-Greene allow that to happen. But for now, it's quiet.
Oh, we sure will see. Thanks so much, Ali.
Thanks, Gadi.
And USC is in the middle of its first day of graduation events, but this year it is looking a little different because of all those protests that have been happening on campus. And now we are learning that a pro-Israel protest is planned for later tonight at the university. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz is on the USC campus now, and you can see what looks like that protest starting behind you. What's the atmosphere on campus today, and what are you seeing behind you?
Yeah, hey, Gadi, it's such an interesting juxtaposition right now because on one hand, you have people gathering right now for this pro-Israel rally on the outskirts of campus because we can't get, I say we, the public, the media, we cannot get onto the campus right now. It is locked down. It's been locked down for essentially 2 weeks at this point. But we have people gathering for this pro-Israel rally. Then here, behind the gates of campus, this is the campus, you have students that are in their graduation outfits, their white dresses, their graduation commencement scarves and hats, celebrating with their friends, taking photos, and it's a very celebratory feel. So you have these really interesting juxtapositions right now. It's certainly tense here all day on campus. This is the start of the graduation festivities today, and we should say, remember, the main commencement ceremony Friday is canceled. But there are still these smaller school department graduation ceremonies, and all day flying overhead are police choppers. And the whole campus is locked down like this. In order to even get onto campus, you have to scan your ID badge. You have to have bag checks at times. If you want to go to the graduation ceremonies tomorrow, you need a ticket. There's even restrictions on the types of bags you can bring in. You have to have see-through clear bags. So USC is being very strict right now about who can get into the campus and what they can bring as the administrators try to create a peaceful graduation, because their biggest concern has been safety, which is why they ultimately made that big decision to cancel the graduation Friday.
And Liz, I mean, you're painting such a very clear picture there. And yet, is that protest behind you interfering at all with some of the celebration that's going on at the campus right behind you?
So far, no. It's just beginning. So I should tell you that what time is it? It's 5:27 here. Technically, this rally is scheduled to start at 5:30. It can often take a while for everybody to come and gather. So it's still to be determined how large this is going to be. The group here is announcing it on social as as going to be potentially, they're trying to break record as the biggest pro-Israel rally in the history of California. They've been saying that 5,000 plus people are going to come here, and they've actually gotten a permit for this rally. They've shut down part of Exposition Boulevard here right next to USC, and they have a stage, they have musicians. So they are branding this as a massive rally here. In fact, someone I interviewed, I just talked to on their way in, I said, where are you guys from? They said, oh, we flew in from the Bay Area, in the San Francisco Bay Area for this. They found out about it on social media. So that's what's happening. But I also want to say over here, again, a sign of potentially what could happen. I hope it remains peaceful. There are two folks that already showed up over here with pro-Palestinian demonstrators with the Palestinian flag as well. So again, we hope it remains peaceful, but it's, that remains to be seen. Obviously, we've seen what's happened, clashes at UCLA nearby as well, Gadi.
And Liz, all this happening while people are on campus. And again, we should point out, USC is a private institution. It's private property there, so they're able to block all that off from the public. But I mean, if you're a family member, anytime it's graduation, it is time for pictures. Normally you have family going to campus to take some of those graduation pictures. Have you seen any of that? Are family members even allowed on campus right now?
Yeah, well, we have seen that because where we've been staged for most of the day has been in the outskirts of the campus, which still is sort of the campus area where students go. And it is just so interesting when we're here talking about these protests, the tensions, the security, and then you do have people that are just there smiling, taking selfies, doing the fight on Trojan pictures. So there is this sort of interesting celebratory feel mixed with these real underlying tensions. And we should also say that this is just, like you mentioned, the first day of the graduation ceremonies, and most of them so far have just been the PhD students, some graduate students. The undergrads, those ceremonies begin tomorrow, most of them Friday. So I think that's when we're going to see the majority of the students here on campus, Gadi.
Fascinating look at so many realities coinciding there at USC's campus at the same time. Liz, thank you so much. And coming up, there is a Taylor Swift bill that was just signed into law in Minnesota. We're going to explain what that's about. But first, you got to see this. Sparks flew in Turkey when a FedEx cargo plane managed to land at Istanbul airport without its front landing gear. Now, video is showing smoke coming out as the plane scraped along the runway and landed on its nose before being hit with firefighting foam from all sides. The plane was a Boeing 767, which is one of the most common cargo planes out there, and thankfully no one was hurt, but they're still investigating the whole thing. Hey, welcome back, and here are some of the headlines we're watching tonight. President Biden is out hyping up a new $3.3 billion Microsoft AI data center. Now, he visited the site in Wisconsin today, and Microsoft is planning on building the high-tech center there, creating thousands of jobs. And it turns out it is actually the same site of a failed electronics factory that at the time was endorsed by the Trump administration. And a story we touched on earlier. Tonight, the House voted overwhelmingly to keep Marjorie Taylor-Greene from getting rid of Speaker Mike Johnson. Have a listen to the response when Greene brought that vote to the floor.
Declaring the office of Speaker of the House of Representatives to be vacant.
Greene lacked the support within the Republican Party to get rid of Johnson. Just 11 GOP members voted with her, while a majority of Democrats voted to save Johnson. And Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter has agreed to plead guilty in the next few weeks. Ipe Mizuhara has been charged with federal bank and tax fraud allegations, which stem from a betting case where prosecutors allege he stole nearly $17 million from Ohtani. Mizuhara could have to pay back both Ohtani and the IRS. And explosives are being used to free that massive cargo ship still stuck in that Baltimore bridge wreck. It's after the remains of the last victims were found yesterday, and crews there are planning to detonate explosives to separate pieces of the bridge. That Dali container ship caused the deadly bridge collapse back in March. And a so-called Taylor Swift bill was signed into Minnesota law. It's supposed to better protect online ticket buyers for things like concerts and sporting events. Buyers will now be guaranteed more transparency, with ticket sellers facing more regulations. And all of it was prompted by the frustration when Ticketmaster's system crashed in 2022 during that huge demand for Swift concert tickets. And speaking of frustration, remember FTX, the biggest cryptocurrency crash there ever was? Well, it turns out FTX's customers might be getting their money back, but only if a court approves the company's bankruptcy plan. NBC's Brian Chung explains.
Hey, Gadi, well, this is an outcome that certainly could have been worse for the many FTX customers that lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases in funds when that cryptocurrency exchange spectacularly collapsed a few years ago. We recall about earlier this year, FTX then CEO Sam Bankman-Fried reaching the end of his criminal trial, getting sentenced to 25 years in jail. Well, now we have a resolution for the many customers that were wondering, well, what happened to my money that I lost? And basically a plan came out from FTX last night that detailed how they plan to pay almost everyone in full. They say that 98% of people who had less than $50,000 in FTX holdings will get all their money back plus interest, 18%. In some cases. Now, it's important to note that the refunds will be given out as of the valuation at the time of the collapse, which is certainly not welcome news for those that have been watching the price of Bitcoin, which has more than tripled since that spectacular collapse in November of 2022. Bitcoin at around $60,000 now. So certainly there's still some sour taste in the mouths of those that are customers at FTX. But the welcome news that they were able to get about $14 to $16 billion that they can distribute out to these customers is certainly welcome news. How did they do it? Well, FTX CEO John Jay, who was brought in after Sam Bankman-Fried was replaced, was able to find money basically underneath the couch by liquidating assets in trading firms like, for example, Alameda Research was kind of the epicenter of FTX. They were able to take some of those assets, sell them, also got some money through litigation court as well. And that's how they were able to ultimately pay back these customers. Again, certainly notable given how this certainly could have ended up way worse. Gadi?
That's a lot of money to find in the couch, Brian. Thank you. And still to come, remember this from Dave Chappelle's stand-up show back in 2022? The guy straight up attacking the comedian on stage. Well, now the guy who rushed the stage is suing the Hollywood Bowl for tackling him. That's no joke. We've got the details when we come back, so stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. The guy who attacked Dave Chappelle on stage is now trying to sue the venue it happened at. We're going to have more on that in a second. But first, here are some of the stories happening out west that we're following right now. We start in Seattle, where passengers aboard a Delta flight were evacuated shortly after landing. Apparently, a fire started in the nose of the plane after plugging into electric power, and luckily no one was hurt. An investigation into equipment used for ground power is now ongoing. And over to New Mexico, where a large sinkhole opened up in front of a house. It swallowed up 2 parked cars that were in the driveway. Officials evacuated people from nearby homes out of precaution, and no one was hurt. And the LAPD has released new footage of the moments leading up to a fatal crash. The driver of a suspected stolen Lamborghini refused to get out of the car. That's when he sped off and crashed into a center median at more than 100 miles an hour. All right, back here in L.A. Remember when comedian Dave Chappelle was doing stand-up at the Hollywood Bowl and this happened?
Make some noise for hip-hop history. I'm going to kill them.
Well, that was 2 years ago, and the man who tackled Chappelle, Isaiah Lee, is now suing the Hollywood Bowl and the security team over the incident, alleging negligent security and battery. Let's bring in NBC correspondent Steve Patterson now. Steve, didn't this guy have a gun-looking weapon when he rushed the stage?
Yeah, a knife fell out of his pocket after he tackled Dave Chappelle. So let's go back to 2022. This story is crazy. You have to love this country, right? So this guy, he gets up. First of all, Dave Chappelle's on tour. He's at the Hollywood Bowl, this world-famous venue. Everybody knows, right here in Los Angeles, not too far from where we're sitting right now. He's giving his set, and like you saw in that video, the guy just runs up on stage, tackles him. He says it is because of the jokes, the content that Chappelle's making. Look, Dave Chappelle makes some racy jokes, right? He's kind of a controversial guy. He often jokes about the homosexual community, the transsexual community. Some people, though, take that as homophobic and transphobic. And according to Isaiah Lee and his attorneys, that's how he felt. He identifies as bisexual, apparently, and so he heard those jokes, wanted the set to end immediately, and this is what he did to end the set. Later, they found that a knife did fall out of his pocket, although he's alleging in this lawsuit that it was far after the act, and so it shouldn't factor into the fact that he says they aggressively took him down.
But also, he tackled Chappelle. He attacked Chappelle. Where does that factor into the lawsuit here?
So, okay, it's important to say this. He is suing the venue, not the people that tackled him. So he's not suing Chappelle's team, his security, his entourage.
Random people that tackled him too, some big names that just jumped in there?
Yes, yeah, I mean, a few people jumped on stage as well. We won't get into that, all right? This is about the lawsuit, Gadi. So he's suing the venue because he's saying that the Hollywood Bowl should have known about the inflammatory content in Chappelle and should have mitigated the situation by having more security on hand. And the security that was on hand did nothing to prevent Chappelle's entourage from beating him up real bad. He said he was ruthlessly beaten, that the team with Chappelle spit on him, that they purposely dislocated his arm. But again, he's not suing those people. He's actually suing the venue, saying they should have done more to prevent this.
The Hollywood Bowl, what are they saying about this?
So we've reached out to the Hollywood Bowl. We've also reached out to Chappelle's team. They've said nothing to us.
Nothing to us.
Nothing to us.
I'm sure we'll hear about this from Chappelle at some point.
The Bowl did give a response to the LA Times saying, just the boilerplate statement that you get from a company that security is paramount to the audience and yada, yada, and so on. But I'm assuming we might hear something from Chappelle in probably a joke form.
Yeah. Hopefully in this next special, I guess.
Yep.
Steve Patterson at Crazy Story. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, man.
Now to one of the world's deadliest diseases, which is now forcing Long Beach, California, to declare a public health emergency. And this one is about tuberculosis. At least one person there is dead and 9 others are in the hospital because of a tuberculosis outbreak. Yep, the same TB that wiped out millions by the 19th century. Long Beach's health department says that they found 14 cases of the disease at a hotel, but they estimate about 175 people have been exposed to it so far. TB, we looked into this, and it's been on the rise since 2020. The U.S. reported nearly 10,000 active infections last year alone. NBC News medical contributor Dr. Vin Gupta joins us now. Dr. Gupta, so alarm bells kind of go off when you see one place, a bunch of cases. This hotel where the 14 cases were found, is that like ground zero here?
It is, Gadi. Good evening. This is serious. Tuberculosis, especially tuberculosis, can be anywhere in our body, but tuberculosis, in this case, likely of the lungs, is a big deal because it can spread very rapidly to people, especially individuals who might be homeless or have other risk factors that put them medically higher risk. So it's no surprise to see that there's this foci of 14 positive cases, multiple exposures amongst this high-risk community.
And how long after an exposure does it take for symptoms to show up? And like, how contagious is it?
Well, it can be very contagious. And so 2 billion people across the world, Gadi, to give you a sense, are actually infected and carry tuberculosis in their body. A very small fraction of that actually experience symptoms and have tuberculosis disease. So tuberculosis infection, you test positive, very common. I think that might surprise some folks. But tuberculosis disease, you actually have symptoms, far less common, less than a few million cases here in the United States. Over the last decade, we've seen about 10,000 cases just this year, 16% rise. So we're seeing an upswing, but it is contagious, very infectious. The problem is who's going to actually demonstrate symptoms. That's where you have to be medically higher risk or have a depressed immune system.
I'm thinking back to the last time I went to the pediatrician. I've got a 6-month at home. We just finished, his battery of vaccines, and tuberculosis wasn't on the list, I don't think. Do we do vaccines for tuberculosis here?
Not really anymore. There is a vaccine termed BCG for short that was given worldwide. To some degree, it's still prevalent, but this is not something that's common here in the United States because it's largely not a problem. Outside of places that are care deserts or in the homeless community, as an example, things to look out for your audience. If you're medically higher risk, may have had an exposure and have had a chronic cough for about 2 weeks, unremitting fevers and night sweats. Those are critical here. Night sweats, a long cough, and a history of an exposure or maybe a travel history, or if you've been recently homeless or otherwise medically higher risk, that's what you want to keep out for. Do you have a relevant travel history or medical history coupled with those symptoms? That's when you want to get tested.
A travel history to L.A., which is where we live, along with, millions of other people. Is this one of those things where if you're feeling any of those symptoms, you go to the doctor, you got to tell the doctor, hey, it might be tuberculosis because I saw this thing on the news? Or are doctors around here, or at least in California, going to be pretty wary and say, we're going to test you for tuberculosis?
Usually the symptom profile, a few weeks of a cough with night sweats, that usually gets the alarm bells ringing for anybody, whether or not they've been recently homeless or have a relevant medical history or traveled somewhere where there was a clear exposure. That symptom profile is something that sets off alarm bells. But to your point, Gadi, everybody in the city of Los Angeles is not going to have this exposure. Yes, this is happening in a place, in one facility where we know that there is a group of people that are higher risk. So that makes sense to make sure that we have a high index of suspicion in a patient who might have risk factors for either exposure or infection. That's not everybody in the city of LA. But generally speaking, if you're somebody that has had fevers, night sweats, unintentional weight loss with a cough, that should set any clinician's alarm bells off to at least do the test.
Dr. Vin Gupta, thank you.
Thank you.
And Prince Harry is back in London to mark an important anniversary there, 10 years of the Invictus Games. But despite being back home, it does not look like the prince is going to be meeting with his dad, the king. NBC News correspondent Kelly Kobiea has more on the royal drama.
Prince Harry back in the UK on his own mission, touching down solo Tuesday afternoon to celebrate a decade of the Invictus Games he helped to create.
It's our birthday at Invictus Games Foundation, and we're all very excited and thrilled.
But not reuniting with his father, King Charles. A Sussex spokesperson saying, unfortunately, a meeting won't be possible because of the King's busy schedule. The statement adding, the Duke is understanding of his father's diary of commitments and various other priorities and hopes to see him soon. The father and son at separate events just over 3 miles apart Tuesday. Buckingham Palace isn't commenting on Harry's visit, but hours before he arrived, announced the king will make Prince William Colonel-in-Chief of Prince Harry's old regiment at a joint ceremony next week.
In some ways, that will be bittersweet. That will cement in many people's minds that while some relationships within the royal family are still very difficult, the main relationship between the heir and the monarch, between William and Charles, is stronger than ever.
Gun salutes marked a year since the coronation of King Charles and Queen Camilla Monday. Back then, Harry attended alone, and the Duke of Sussex briefly visiting his father in February after the King's cancer diagnosis was made public. Harry and Meghan wished health and healing for Princess Kate after her preventative cancer treatment announcement, but no outward sign of a brotherly reconciliation on this trip. A stark difference from the first Invictus Games 10 years ago. But Harry always focused on the mission of the Games, speaking with Hoda in 2022.
Every single games that I go to, it feels amazing that we've managed to play a part in their recovery.
The Sussexes continue to follow their own path in California. The family celebrating their son Prince Archie's 5th birthday privately Monday, after William and Kate marked Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis's birthdays in April and May with new pictures of the young royals. The next big opportunity for the family to get together is the Trooping the Color, the King's official birthday parade in June. Not clear if Meghan and Harry will be here for that. For now, the couple focusing on that trip later this week to Nigeria to continue promoting and drumming up support for the Invictus Games.
Kelly, thank you. And tonight, a birthday party more than a century in the making. A World War II veteran recently turned 107. And his small town in Wisconsin showed up to celebrate. But that is not the only party that he's been looking forward to. Next month, he's going to head to France to celebrate the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Charles Benson from our sister station WTMJ in Milwaukee has more.
The population in Pigeon Falls, Wisconsin is 381. But there's no one here or in the state like Reynolds Tomter.
Here we go again, ready or not.
Reynolds is ready. He has been all his life.
Happy birthday, youngster.
Today is his 107th birthday.
It's been a lot of fun.
Spend a few minutes with this Merchant Marine World War II veteran, and you'll want more.
Gosh, good to see you, Dave.
He's the persona of gratitude.
I'm blessed. I got friends. I'm so blessed. Thankful.
With the personality of a late-night talk show host.
Yeah, I'm experiencing a new thing, and I've never been this old before.
From his home, where he lives on his own and still drives, Reynolds talks about being invited to the 80th anniversary of D-Day in Normandy.
I'm lucky to have a chance to go there like I am having. But I never feel at all like I've earned it. And I haven't done anything more than any other GI.
We sit at a small table surrounded by his Merchant Marine medals and a memory that would amaze anyone.
I bet you can still fit in the uniform.
No, I don't think so.
He is believed to be the oldest living World War II Merchant Marine in the country. As the ship's baker and backup gunner, he was on 5 Atlantic crossings with one mission: get the supplies to the troops.
What's the secret to your longevity?
Well, I'll have to say maybe a lot of luck.
Luck.
I've always had a positive attitude.
It has served him well. And when the time comes to honor him and the other World War II veterans in Normandy, Reynolds will be ready.
Now, before we go, scientists are even closer to understanding whales, and they might have just cracked the code for their alphabet. It turns out it is far more complex than ABCs. We're going to explain, so stay tuned. And tonight on The Future of Everything, NBC News correspondent and whale pro Ann Thompson is about to teach all of us here the ABCs of real-life whale speak.
To you and me, the underwater noises sperm whales make sound like tapping. But these vocalizations, scientists say, are actually language. And more sophisticated than imagined in Finding Nemo.
Dory, this is not whale.
These series of clicks are called codas, that scientists say are the building blocks of communication between these mammoth sea creatures. Far from arbitrary, a new study published in Nature found whales use 4 basic elements, including rhythm and tempo, to create a phonetic alphabet.
How does this phonetic alphabet work?
It essentially looks at the speed at which they're saying things, at the kind of different texture, emphasis on how I said something.
Researchers from Dr. David Gruber's Cetacean Translation Initiative listened to some 8,700 of these snippets made by whales off the Caribbean island of Dominica. Trying to figure out what they are saying is the next step.
Do you think it's possible that one day we could talk to whales?
I think it will be possible to be able to be sending information back and forth. We're not really sure what it's going to look like. That's the kind of cool thing.
And become real-life Dr. Doolittles, learning the ABCs of the deep. Ann Thompson, NBC News.
A whale. How about that? That does it for us tonight. I'm Gadi Schwartz. We'll see you tomorrow. But until then, stay tuned.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.